So, welcome back to another video. It's probably go up on my personal profile, and today I want to talk a little bit about the purification of man and what that actually means and what that actually looks like in a man's life. And so, as I've gone through my own journey, what I've come to understand, and the knowledge that I've gained through going through this in my own experience is that the purification process that happens in a man is to really purify him of two aspects. And that first aspect is the sexual aspect of man. It's not really something I need to elaborate and go into a lot of detail about, because every man in himself, and I feel like in this day and age, especially women now, the whole sexual problem, because it is a sex and violence are rife on this planet, and sex and violence go hand in hand. But what I want to talk about is, sex is a very beautiful thing, providing that there's love in it. And when I say love, I mean, I'm really talking about the purification and the knowledge of God within a man. I'm not talking about no airy fairy love what people romanticize as love. I'm not talking about that crap. I'm talking about the actual true knowledge of love in a man as his divine principle. And now the reason why we only have sex and sexual excitement, and why man's so obsessed with sex, is because there's the other part to man, and that's the deep pain and insecurity and vulnerability that is suppressed in all men. And so it's this layer in a man that most men don't even recognize. They don't even recognize that they actually have this layer, because they live so on the surface of their life. Like, men are so surface focused, which means they're constantly focusing on ways in which they can enjoy themselves. And that's through, like, whether that be sporting activities, whether that be sex, whether that be drugs, whether that be going out. Man's so focused on the surface level of his life that he's completely unaware of this undercurrent, this like deep undercurrent of unhappiness within him. And I went through this same thing, like so self-focused, so self-obsessed. If it wasn't with the gym, it was with drugs, and it was always about me first, and no real acknowledgement of anything else. And it really, when I look now, I was unaware of this deep reservoir of unhappiness in me, completely unaware. It was almost like I was blindsided by it, didn't have an ability to see it. But then actually, as I started to go through this awakening process, and I started to realise that one of the first things I've become aware of is this like eruption of like anger in me. Like, I was like an angry person, but at the time I was justifying that anger and saying, well, I'm alright to be angry because of this or because of that. Or, I had this kind of like side to me that was like super aggressive and super like I would just blow up and kick off. But then, I justified that as like, that's a man quality. Like, I'm a man. That's what it is to be a man, to be strong, and to put on this like, alpha male kind of bullshit that I see everywhere. It's like prevalent amongst men, this alpha male image, and the way guys hold themselves, the way guys walk, and the way guys put themselves forward, and this whole masculine bravado that I see, which is that masculine bravado which I used to portray. I used to walk around, big ass shoulders, like big fucking strong guy, lots of muscle, like walking around like aggressive, like thinking I was some kind of alpha male. But what I didn't realize is all of that whole perspective is actually built on insecurity. Like, it all comes from pure insecurity. And so as I went through my awakening, the first thing I've become aware of is this explosion of pain that I kept projecting out onto everybody else, this way of blaming. And actually, as I had to go into this, I began to penetrate into this layer of unhappiness. And actually, as I come into this unhappiness, I start to realise this vulnerability inside of me, this lack of love that I've been shown, this all of these insecurities, which I was completely unaware of. But actually what happens is when we have this emotional suppressed layer within us as men, it's these emotional insecurities that drive us to become sexually focused. Because what we don't realise is, you know, whenever we're masturbating, especially for guys, like guys masturbate like ridiculously, because what they're doing is they're trying to release this emotional layer in themselves that they haven't actually ventured into, acknowledged or understood. And so we have this man who's walking around in his false bravado, portraying this kind of masculine kind of guy who's real tough and who's real hard, but actually what that's actually doing is it actually perpetuates this imbalanced masculine energy that's unable to love, that's unable to connect with women, that's unable to truly be an authentic expression of the connection that he truly has. And so what we have to do as men, we have to realise this layer within us, and that's first realising that that unhappiness that we show, that anger that we express, that dominance that we try to portray, that power that we believe we have, is actually built on insecurities. And then it's about penetrating that insecurities and actually doing the work on unraveling these parts of ourselves. And as we unravel these parts more and more, we come into this deep pain, because in men there's a deep emotional pain. And you know, as men we've hardened ourselves so much to it that, you know, most of us don't even acknowledge that it's there. And that's like men don't cry and all this crap and all this bullshit. But it actually, what it is it makes man so hard and so rigid in himself that he's constantly trying to escape it. He's constantly trying to find ways in which he can indulge and escape this kind of undercurrent of reality. And hence why, you know, man goes forth into the world and he's always trying to do and create and control and build an empire, and he's looking for power, because where he's actually coming from is actually built on a place of empowerment. Man only has to portray power because the truth of his reality is he doesn't have any power.